Hey friends, welcome to another special edition of Math That Matters. This is the It's a Wonderful Life Finance Project edition. And in case you've never seen the movie, I thought I'd give you the 3-minute Cliff Notes version of the movie. I'm going to share my screen with you. And this will take about 3 minutes, but you need it. If you want a good grade on this project, you need to know all about It's a Wonderful Life. Let her roll.
Clarence, you do a good job with George Bailey, and you'll get your wings.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm going out exploring someday. You watch.
I want to do something big. I'm shaking the dust of this crummy little town off my feet, and I'm going to see the world. I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. I'm going to school. This is my last chance. Uncle Billy here. He's your man.
But George, they'll vote with Potter otherwise.
In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider.
Well, aren't you going to make a deposit?
Oh, sure I am.
Well, then it's usually customary to bring the money with you.
Where's that money, you silly, stupid old fool? Where's that money? You realize what this means? It means bankruptcy and scandal and prison.
Is Daddy in trouble?
Yes, Peter.
Shall I pray for him?
Yes, Jenny, pray very hard.
You're worth more dead than alive.
That's what I was sent down for. I'm your guardian angel.
Suppose it'd been better if I'd never been born at all.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I'd never been born.
You've got your wish. You've never been bored.
Mother.
Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. When he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?
Mary! 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 Mary, it's George. Don't you know me? What's happened to us?
I don't know. You let me go.
Mary, please. Oh, don't do this to me. Please, Mary. Help me. Where's our kids? I need you, Mary. I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again. Zuzu's pedals. Zuzu. There they are! Bert! What do you know about that? Merry Christmas! Well, Merry Christmas.
Oh, George.
George.
Isn't it wonderful? So many friends. Mary did it, George. Mary did it. She told some people you were in trouble with it. They scattered all over town collecting money.
Hey, George, I got the pack of the all left out of it. Here's some beautiful pay.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right.
That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
So there it is. If you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, at least you've got the 3-minute version, and you really should watch it in order to, I guess, get a good grade on this project. Not really, though. On this project, we just decided to name it. I guess I just decided to name it the It's a Wonderful Life Finance Project. And so you're going to make yourself a wonderful life. There's going to be 2 documents. There's going to be a PowerPoint, and then there's going to be an Excel spreadsheet that kind of fuels that PowerPoint. And what I've done is I've actually made, just for you all, and It's a Wonderful Life Neil Mintman PowerPoint, just as an example to show you and Neil and everyone how much we love Neil, and to give an example for something that you might do in this project. It's a Wonderful Life. Neil Mintman used to be George Bailey, but there he is. Look at him, Jimmy Stewart Ninteman in action. There's Susan right there. There's Nate. There's Jack. There's Neil's other kid. It's a Wonderful Life. What is going to be in this spreadsheet? So we'll start out. This will be some sort of photo of the good life, just like I showed you with the previous picture. And what you're going to do is you're going to build a hypothetical 30-year-old life. So suppose you graduate college at 22 and you've been 8 years out of school. Some things have happened. Maybe you got some kids, and you got to figure out, how do I make money and how do I spend money and what do I spend money on? Photo of the good life. Each slide will need some sort of visual depicting the what and why of the particular scenario of interest that will be titled up here. I'm going to give you a template for this. And so I'm giving you an example, but I'll put a template on Foxtail, and you'll kind of look at that template and you'll fill in these things to the different slides. And you can add slides if you want to. I want some words describing the picture, some amount of money associated with the topic of interest. And this isn't just some guessed at amount. You have to research, explain or document the values, and sometimes you'll have to pull these values from the spreadsheet part of your project. I also want you to justify the final choices you made, because as you'll see, there are the things that you think you can do, the things that you want to do, and then there's the things that you'll have to decide not to do in order to make things work in your budget. Of course, you can add slides if necessary. Well, the first is going to be, what do you do for a living? Who's your employer? And for Neil, this is Neil's wonderful life. The first thought was, maybe Neil should be a lion tamer. You think Neil should be a lion tamer? That was my first thought. I don't know how much lion tamers make, and I actually couldn't find any lion tamer ads. So sorry, Neil. Sorry about that. What else could Neil do? Well, I was thinking about it. Neil could, I know that he said, my son Nate said that his gift was being a cowboy. So maybe Neil could be a cowboy, a dangerous cowboy. I think Neil would be a great cowboy. But again, I couldn't find an advertisement for cowboys. Like, nobody was hiring cowboys. I mean, I'd hire Neil as a cowboy in a second, but couldn't find one. So we decided that Neil should be an engineering professor at George Fox University. And I'm sure, I just made a guess because I don't know what Neil makes per year, but he's worth more than this. But I'm just guessing that Neil makes $150,000 per year as a professor at George Fox University. So whenever you research your chosen profession, your hypothetical good life, wonderful life profession, you'll have to kind of research salary associated with that. And for Neil, there it is. Also, you may want to get a side job. And I thought for Neil, since he is really into beautification products and he gets his manis and his pedis, and I'm sure he knows how to do it, he'd actually save some money on his own. But I feel like Neil would be an excellent pedicurist. So, and I think he could make an extra 20 grand on top of the 150, and you know, for the extras, for the kids. So you can do this as well in your PowerPoint. Maybe you have a little second job. I've always had a second job, actually, and I kind of loved it. And it's added a lot to my life. What's next? So you're building your It's a Wonderful Life PowerPoint. Oh, shoot, there's the tax part. So you get all this money. You start with the good news. You get all this money. You figure it out. And then it's like, you'd think I could spell federal. The federal taxes that are taken out of your check, state taxes, there's Social Security, FICA, no one really knows what that is, but FICA is, they just take more money. And it only appears, Neil, that you're making 170,000 because the government wants theirs. In fact, I just got a letter from my in-laws, and California is passing some law about inheritance taxes that is just going to be insane. So sorry about California. That's going to be kind of rough. But at least we put Neil in Oregon as a professor at George Fox University. So wherever you end up, you're going to pay some taxes. If you end up in a place like California, you're going to pay more taxes than if you live in Wyoming or something like that. So you'll have to think about that maybe. All right, where are you going to live? And that's like, where are you going to live, where your job is, in what state, and where are you going to live in a house? Maybe you're going to rent for a while. If you're 30 years old, if you learned anything in this class, you probably aren't renting at 30 years old. You're going to need a home loan. You're gonna have to think about property taxes and insurance, repairs on that home, maintenance on that home, projects maybe on that home. Maybe you want to buy a fixer-upper. You could get to know Chip and Joe down in Waco, which would be awesome. My heroes. I've seen every single episode of Fixer Upper, and I'm just waiting for the next ones. So this is probably a slide where you're going to have to do a little research, and you'll have to pull from your spreadsheet that I'll talk about in a little bit. You have to get some numbers for your house loan, and do research loan terms, like what percent can you get. Usually they're 30-year loans and monthly payments. And from your spreadsheet, maybe you can assume a 10% down payment. You can factor that in. You're 30 years old. You've probably saved some money. You've probably gathered some equity. But at 30 years old for this project, you're going to buy a house. Calculate the loan amount. Calculate your monthly loan payment from the spreadsheet. And that should be fun. Put this into the PowerPoint. This is the house I was initially thinking would probably be a good one for Neil, because I think, he's kind of a big guy, and I'm sure that he needs his space. And, there's probably plenty of times where Susan sends him to the couch. There's probably plenty of couches in this house. And there was a point, though, where I was kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too big for Neil. Although Nate, his son, is also a large person. So, he'd probably stay over at least once or twice. But Neil, I did not pick this house for you. So if you want to, on your spreadsheet for your project, you can pick several options, and then you're going to have to choose one. But this was an option for Neil. Another option for Neil was, look at this, the Wacky Shack. I mean, can you see Neil in that house with his head peeking out of this window? Susan's over here, and then Nate trying to fit through this door. As I mentioned, Nate is a rather large person. Definitely not going to fit through that door, but it's on wheels. So the Wacky Shack was an option. I declined it, but I was close. I was thinking, Neil, this could be yours. And then I decided, let's just bring Neil closer to home. So I actually found a house that was close to my own house. I thought, since Neil and I are such good friends, Neil, I want you to move closer to me. So this house is actually in Newburgh. It's for sale. It's on a nice piece of property. It's over on a hill. It's got a nice garden here. And let's see, I got some information about this house. It's only, it's about $1.4 million. It's over 6,000 square feet. So I'm not sure you'll be able to afford this. But I mean, your gross income's 170,000. This is estimated payment of 6,000 a month. Whew, that's going to be tough. And when you get to the end, you might realize I'm going to have to make some changes, because at some point you look at the bottom line and you say, I just can't afford these things. But for Neil, I would say, actually, there's really no chance unless you have a whole lot of equity. But if you're moving from Lake Oswego to Newburgh, I don't know, 1.4, that's kind of a lot. All right, what's next? Loan strategy. So you're going to include a slide where you say, here's what my loan would be, but I'm going to do some interest reduction strategies, and I'm going to plan into my budget a way to pay that loan off a little bit faster and probably save a lot of money. So you're going to have to use your spreadsheet for this, but once you look at your spreadsheet and consider some different strategies, then you can pull over into this document, your PowerPoint, the information that's necessary, and you can discuss briefly the results. So I'm just giving you an example. This again is Neil's wonderful life, and you're going to create your wonderful life at the age of 30. But you also have to think about some things, and you're going to have to do a little bit of research, like you have to pay for electricity. That's why I keep telling my kids, turn the lights off. Water costs money. If you're in town, you pay for a sewer. If you're out of town, you have a drain field and you have a septic system, which requires maintenance. Garbage service costs money. Maybe you're living in town and you got to pay for parking, cable TV, internet. This is crazy. You just have to think about all this money that goes out. There was only one line or two lines of money coming in. Cell phones, household supplies. I mean, everyone needs toilet paper and cleaning supplies and light bulbs. And this is nuts, but you have to budget for this, and that's a part of this project. So look into it, and you're going to have to come up with numbers for all these different things. And you might actually have to go with a little bit less, because not everybody can just say, I'll just do whatever I want. There's usually extreme limitations. How about food? You got to think about food. And so you're going to build into your budget how much it's going to cost for food. Consider if you're married or not, if you have kids. What you want to eat. One of the things we did last year was we decided to primarily eat organic food. And there are some, I think, good reasons for that, good health reasons. I really don't want cancer. I have no interest in getting cancer. And I think if I have a low sugar intake and eat organic food, which does include organic coffee, one of the greatest things in the world. There's Jesus and my wife and Neil and coffee. So that's a pretty good list. My kids are in there too, but you're gonna have to figure out some grocery bill and put some reasonable number. I won't tell you how much we spend on groceries because it actually costs a lot to eat organic food, but we do have a garden, so that was pretty fun. All right, what else are you gonna put in this PowerPoint? How about vacations and entertainment? Now this looks like my idea of a vacation. We were just in Universal Studios and I kind of hate the theme park thing. You wait for an hour in line, then you go on a 2-minute ride. It's kind of fun, but then why do it again? You've already done it. But I would sit in a hammock on the beach all day and read a book. That's my idea of a vacation. I like that. Well, how are you going to pay for it? A lot of people pay for it by putting a little bit away every month. They have some sort of deposit plan into an account, saving up for a vacation. So you can, on this page, you can put a particular vacation that you want to save for. And the other things you should consider for your budget are you going to go out on date nights? If you're 30 years old, maybe you have some kids, maybe they're 6 to 10 years old. Family activities. Maybe you have to budget in for childcare so that you can go on your date nights. So this is just sort of a slide where you're going to list, and you can add slides if you run out of space, all the things that might be relevant financially to vacations and entertainment. Oh boy, if you have kids, it's awesome. It's amazing. However, we have 4 kids and we were 10 years straight in diapers. I'm telling you, I have changed more diapers in my life. And once we stopped having kids with diapers, I have not changed a single diaper since. So I know grandkids probably coming in the next few years, but that costs a lot of money. Diapers cost a lot. Childcare, medical for kids. How about sports and activities for your kids? It's crazy. So when you're figuring out your budget in your wonderful life, you're going to have to figure out these sorts of things. And if you think of other things that are related to these categories, then you certainly can include them. We're trying to look at all the things that need to be considered and researched for a budget. And again, this is your 30-year-old wonderful life. So you're probably a little bit established in your career. You've probably got some equity in your home, maybe some savings, but not too far along, I guess, in your career. Not nearly as far as me or Neil, who's like even older than me, but we won't talk about that. We'll go to the next slide. All right, how about hobbies? Hobbies cost money. This looks like a good hobby to me. That's Joe Bonamici, and apparently he collects guitars. I'm a little bit jealous. He's actually got a lot of amps behind him. So I don't know what it is that you think is important for your hobbies, what you love, but I actually I have owned more guitars in my life than that. I've owned over 250 guitars. It's actually been a pretty fun thing. It's usually like 3 or 4 at a time. And I'll just buy one, play it for a while and sell it. And I almost always make a little bit of money because I won't buy anything unless I get a really great deal. And it's been super fun. And now I'm playing with my son, which is great. It's fun for us. So what other hobbies do you have? Maybe it's sports. I know we've been playing pickleball a lot, which has been fun. And some of those things cost a lot of money and some don't. Maybe you just like to take hikes. And so you can budget in small amounts for hobbies. Other people have very expensive hobbies. So in fact, I don't know what your hobbies are, Neil, but probably teaching math. That's a great hobby. But maybe you should start collecting guitars. I would highly recommend it. It's super fun. I have one coming on, well, it's supposed to be Thursday now in the mail. Looking forward to it. All right, what else? What else costs money? I don't know. Let's see. Student loans. Dang it. Student loans. You're gonna have to think about that. And maybe you estimate your own student loan and you already know your interest rate and all of that. But you're probably gonna have to go back to your spreadsheet and calculate some terms and some lengths of terms and some interest rate and pull into this slide the budget line item for your student loans. I think I went to George Fox, first year was 1990. And I think with room and board plus tuition, I paid just under $11,000 total for my first year at George Fox in 1990. And I think it was just under 16 4 years later. So the price had elevated quite a bit if you think about that, almost 50%. So, but I think I ended up with $17,000 total out of 4 years of student loans. And I paid it off relatively quickly. At that point in time, I think it was 6 to 8% or something like that. So think about that. It's another line item in your budget. And I want you to talk about it in this spreadsheet that you're making. You need a car. Car most likely is going to be on a loan. You know, you can choose to get an inexpensive car and you can save up for a car, put that in your savings plan if you want to, and you can pay cash for a car. But a car takes gas, of course. It takes car insurance. Probably right now your parents are paying your car insurance. It's a ridiculous bill in our house because I got 2 teenage drivers right now. And so my daughter, oh, I won't say it because she's going to watch this video, but she's got car insurance bills that we're helping out with, and my son too. Sorry, Linnea. Sorry about that. I won't mention the car insurance. Maintenance and repairs. My son's car right now has just been sitting there for a while. That's why he keeps borrowing my other car. So it's a good time. So you may have a loan and you can research actual percentage rates. I just bought a car recently and we got a 2.69% interest rate on a 5-year loan. So pretty good loan there. And you're going to calculate your monthly loan payment. You're going to pull it into this spreadsheet as a line item for your budget. This was what Susan told me she wanted. So Neil, I know that it's probably either the Castle or this car. This is the Ford GT. I can't remember. I think there was like a $300,000 price tag on this car, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm probably going to get to the budget line. I don't think you can get this car, Neil, but I did find one that you're going to love. So remember, this is Neil's Wonderful Life. The kids are going to love it, Neil. Here you go. This is Neil's dream car right here. It's a Volvo. I don't know if maybe like he painted the squares and then he's letting the kids fill them in. It's, I don't know, some Tetris obsession or maybe some sort of Rubik's Cube fix but I think Neil, the kids are into this. You're going to have to go with that one. You might even be able to buy that with cash, but it's so unique that it might cost you. You probably got it off eBay. So good job, Neil. There's Neil's wonderful car. Next slide. Oh, pets. We have some fish. That's about all I will tolerate, but you probably know if you're an animal lover, it's not cheap. So if you want a dog, if you want a cat, if you want some cows and chickens and geese, you're going to have to feed them. You're going to have to take care of them. You're going to have to take them to the vet. So that's got to be a line item in your budget. How about emergency savings? Things come up, and if you're putting some money away, then you can handle that. One strategy that I've used with emergency savings, and we really haven't had to use them very much, but typically we have a lot of equity in our home and I try to pay back the home loan aggressively, but I have an open home equity line of credit. So if I need cash, I can pull it out of that. But when I don't need cash, I don't want it. I'd rather have my money kind of sitting in my house, if that makes sense. And then I sort of pull the money out of my house in order for emergencies or big expenses. Because typically the interest rate on a home equity line of credit isn't terrible. I guess especially right now, all interest rates are great. So consider emergency savings. Life insurance is a thing to take care of your family if something happens. I know that we have 30-year life insurance that we bought a long time ago. And I think in 2033 it expires. So if I don't die before then, I get nothing. And I've been paying like 30 bucks a month, 34 bucks a month for 30 years, and I'll get nothing. But if I die before then, I think my family gets like $256,000. So that's something we did a long time ago. The nice thing about life insurance is if you start early, it's cheaper. And if you get locked into term life insurance, then it's the same price every month until the end of the term. And we got a 30-year term year life insurance. So something you might want to consider in your wonderful life with a budget. You may want to put some money away for retirement in a 401k. Maybe your employer does that. I know George Fox actually has a, what is it? It's a pretty good retirement system where if you put some money in, I think, golly, Neil, they match it like 6 times or something. It's only up to like $200, but so it's limited, but there's a pretty good match at George Fox in the retirement savings. Any other future savings for other particular goals you could put on this slide. You can pull from the spreadsheet. You can do some systematic savings with some deposits if you want. but put down some goals, some financial goals that you might want to save for, and build them into your budget. And this is, I wanted to finish with this one because I think that sometimes we wait until the end and we do the really important stuff with what's left. And, that's actually pretty sad because God tells us to bring our first fruits, to be generous, to tithe and to give offerings and to care about things that really matter and to help people in need. And so I think that maybe even your first line in your budget could be this. And the other thing is God loves a cheerful giver. God loves a sacrificial giver. I read about that church in Macedonia in the New Testament, and they gave out of their poverty. The woman with the 2 small coins, she gave everything she had, and Jesus said that was a lot, 2 small coins. So taking care of people, and it moves the heart of God. And the other thing it moves is the heart of you. Jesus said, where your treasure goes, there your heart will follow. And so I think that as you consider the kinds of opportunity that we have, this is probably the richest nation in the history of the world. And you happen to live here and now, and so do I. And the question is, what should you do? And I struggle with this too, because, we have a nice car and I have these guitars, and we try to be generous, and we've helped take care of kids for our whole marriage. We've always got at least one, if not more, kids in different places all over the world. Right now we have a little girl named Mercy. She's a sweetie. And I don't know, it's really fun to pray for kids and send money to them. And knowing that really, I don't even hardly notice it in our budget, but it makes a huge difference for them. So you don't want to forget about this part. And maybe this is the first part, but I wanted to bring it up last because it's just so meaningful. God has a heart for taking care of people. There might be some other categories you can build into this. Again, you are creating a spreadsheet, yes, but this is the PowerPoint presentation that is coupled with the spreadsheet to comprise the project, the It's a Wonderful Life project. Now, there we are. There's going to be some uh-ohs in here. You're going to be working on your budget, and you're going to be looking at your line items, and at some point, probably the things that you want cost more than the amount of money that you have, and you're going to have to make some revisions, and it's going to have to align with your priorities and your choices. And what we want you to do on this slide, or several slides, is to say, here are the problems that I ran into in budgeting, and here are the priorities that I have, and here are the choices that I made. Here are the sacrifices that I made, and here's what I was able to do with what I sacrificed for. So we want to hear about the process on this slide. Finally, at the end of your PowerPoint, we just want a project summary. And you'll see all of this. I'm going to give you a template of this. I kind of made this fun and personalized with Neil's Wonderful Life just because it's fun. And I want you to have fun with it too. So have this kind of summary slide. And then the other thing we want you to know is there will be a PowerPoint associated with this project that I've been describing. And there's an Excel worksheet that I'm going to show you, or several worksheets within an Excel file that you're going to use to draw from for this project. We love graphics and visuals. We love in-depth thought, communication. Words are good. Analysis, like the why behind the what. And it's fun to make things funny. So just do. And we will even offer some bonus points for creativity in either this and or the Excel file. So if you make something awesome, if you make something hilarious, if you make something thorough, then we want to reward you for that. So keep that in mind. I'm going to exit this PowerPoint. I think I am. Oh, it's a right click. There we go, in the show. And I just want to say a few things about the other part of the project. So this is an example of a student's spreadsheet, the spreadsheet part of the project. And I'll show you in a minute the description and the requirements for this spreadsheet. But essentially, for your spreadsheet part of the project, that's not easy to say, there will be some information sheet where there will be a whole bunch of inputs. Now, this person has chosen to ask a bunch of questions. What's your income? What's your spouse's income? What percent of your income is taxed? So it's almost like an interview, a financial interview. How much is your house loan? These are just inputs from the decisions that are made. Car loan, student loans. So it's just like all these questions and all these inputs. And those inputs are actually then pulled over into this page of calculations. And this is the formulas page where the inputs are pulled from the other sheet. And then the necessary financial information is calculated on the spreadsheet, like what your monthly deposits are, your monthly payments on loans, things like that. Wherever you need a calculation, this part of the file will take care of it, your calc page. And it pulls again from the info sheet, the inputs. And then you'll also need a final summary page where you can kind of look at the actual budget line items. So we've got our pluses, the income, and then we've got our expenses, which is pretty easy to do on Excel. And the other thing that you need to make sure, look at this person's final outcome is $6.14. So they have this nice, almost perfectly balanced budget. And then Excel will make a pie chart and it will give you a little key for that. So that's required too. Another one that we were looking at is the budget shark, which is kind of cool. This actually made me laugh because I was looking at this budget shark and look, the annual salary of this person was $160,000. And then if you go over here, the input on the home loan was $120,000. So undoubtedly this was made a few years ago, maybe 10 or more years ago. Maybe houses were $120,000. When I bought my first house, that was 1995, and it was just under $100,000. So I think that this was done probably 10 years after that at least. And so the income is pretty dang high. I don't know what this person's doing for a career, but interesting that they've chosen these numbers. Try to find realistic numbers, not just numbers that you want, but numbers that are fairly likely. Do some research. But they've got their inputs here. They've got their calculations page where they've got their little boxes. It's color coded, looks beautiful, really nice job. And then the home screen, which is sort of the, okay. And the one other thing we were going to say is this spreadsheet is for you and this project, but it's also for anybody. So anybody should be able to come in here and say, hey, I want some sort of tool that can help me manage my finances and my budget, and they should be able to use yours. So even if there's something that you think, I'm not going to have a pet, put it in there anyway and give them a space for it in the budget line item. So don't leave things out. You'll see on Foxtail, we've got this spreadsheet project overview. And you'll see the sheet 1. And these are like worksheets within the Excel file. And then the calculations and the loan comparison sheet. So there's a whole bunch of things for you. And I'll also put the template for the PowerPoint on Foxtail. But hopefully this is going to be really fun for you. Let me stop the share so that I can just sort of close up here. We want you to enjoy this. We want this to be useful. We want you to, I laughed a lot while I was making this video, thinking about my dear friend Neil and just having a little fun with all of this. So have fun with it. And thanks for listening. I will look forward to seeing you soon. Let us know if you have any questions.